What's better than having no power poles? Having one power pole. That's right. So for the past 2 years, I've had one power pole, and I finally got my second one. So follow along. I'm gonna show you guys how I put it on. Maybe some tips I can help you out. Some wiring that you got to do, the brackets I use, and stuff like that. Stay tuned. All right, guys. So as you can see, there's my other one right there, mounted on the bracket. I had already had my second bracket mounted. I was prepared for my second one. Just didn't have the money to get it. So yes, I will no longer just have one. I'm gonna have two. Alright guys, so when you buy a power pole, it's gonna come with everything you need. It's gonna come in with the lubrication stuff, like hydraulic fluid. It's gonna come with a bracket for the pump. It's gonna come with the bolts for the power pole. And everything to mount the pump, including the ends for the wiring. There is the pump. And so each power pole has its own pump, has all the wiring, all the fittings and stuff, all the buttons on top so you can, you know, program it all. The new ones, you can buy the new ones that come with one pump. And then you got all your buttons, you know, to make you can dash mount it, or you can wear the lanyard. Won't need that. As you guys know, I already have one mounted. So that means I gotta mount a second pump. So if you're ever gonna get power poles and you gotta get transom brackets, go ahead and get both transom brackets and mount them, even if you're gonna get one pole. It'll save you a huge headache later on. Here's the instructions. Put them somewhere safe. Might need it for pairing, how to use the buttons and whatnot. And then you got the power pole itself. So I'm gonna get this thing bolted on there, at least set up there for now. Then I'll show you guys the rest. Alright, so when you get the power pole brackets, it comes with the hardware needed. So that's the cool thing. So just about everything you're gonna need is gonna be provided. The power pole bracket is gonna come with, in the kit, you're gonna have like a rubber washer and then a standard washer. It's intended for the rubber washer with the metal sleeve on the outside to go on the bolt, because this is going to go against the plastic part or the aluminum part, or whatever that is on the power pole. This flat part is going to be on the inside of your metal bracket. So you just want to get a couple set up ready to go, so when you hold your pole up there you can get them bolts started and then you can go back and tighten them. And just be careful, you do have hydraulic lines. It would probably be a lot better if you had someone helping you. But if you can get it started just like that, then it'll hold itself. Now keep in mind too, from what I read, they recommend your poles to be kind of more leaned in and not out. So these brackets are slotted. So what you want to do is just, you know, get this lined up kind of evenly with that one, and then snug them down. Make it, you know, move it around a little bit again, and then finish tightening it. So it's not too bad. So, oh, this thing's been scratched. Oh well, it's gonna get scratched up anyways. All right, I'm gonna go to the front, make sure this is kind of lined up somewhat, and then come back and snug these bolts up. Alright guys, so as you can see, it's bolted on. It's looks pretty good. I'll show you guys from the front. So as you can see, looking back there, they look pretty even. Now I might need to make some small minor adjustments on the water, depending on how they lay out. This is where the fun begins. Not really that bad. There's one pump mounted. And I think what I'm gonna do is mount the other pump right here against this wall. And they'll just be across from each other. I wish I could afford the single pump one, but I can't. So I'm gonna mount the pump to the bracket and then mount that in there. Take these hydraulic hoses right here and bring them right through here. So nothing to it. I got everything on a switch, so what I'll do is I'll probably end up cutting the power wire and just splicing into it, and so that way these two, well, yeah, I think I'll end up splicing them both into it because they need to be on a switch. There's my switch right there for it. As you can see, on and off switch. And there's the hydraulic hoses. They run up in here and disappear. What I'll do is I'll put a zip tie right here, just to keep these hoses to where they're not bouncing around and don't, you know, have a chance of hitting something. And then what they do is they come right in here. At this point, I'm gonna have to just route them around in there as clean as I can. And still gotta mount that pump. But it's really not bad if you've done one before. Plus, if you already have this bracket, like I said, if you're going to buy one power pole and you gotta buy these transom brackets that go in between your motor and your transom, go ahead and buy two of them. Don't just buy one, because if you plan on buying another power pole, you're gonna wish you would have went ahead and mounted both of them. Taking this motor on and off and using silicone and stuff to seal it up, it's not fun. Do yourself a favor, buy both brackets, mount them. That way when you get the opportunity to get the second one, all you gotta do is stow it up. It took me less than 5 minutes to get this pole mounted. I could have this done within the next 45 minutes if I really wanted to. So that little switch I showed you guys, not using it. I'm gonna show you guys what I got. Alright, so this switch right here is for all my electronics. I think these are 200 amp switches. I got this switch right here, which is the same as this one. This is another 200 amp switch. It is going to be used to turn on and off both of my pumps. And as you guys can see, I'm getting ready to mount the pump to the bracket. Stay tuned. Alright, so as you can see, it's the 2 bolts they provide with a rubber style washer, and then in between the metal and the pump there is a rubber sleeve right there that you can see. Make sure that rubber sleeve is in between there. It's just a cushion. Alright, let's get this thing mounted now. I got it mounted in there. 4 screws provided and extra long extension for my screwdriver. My impact, sorry, this ain't the one I used. You gotta have a long one. You gotta be able to get past the bracket and the pump itself. Alright, now time to route these wires over here and then we'll hook up the hydraulic hoses. I connected both the wires and just ran them basically along the inside of my boat. Got them zip tied there, which from there I heat shrinked an end on my new one. You always want to use heat shrink on this stuff if you can, just to protect it, but those right there will come up into this switch. And then both my ground wires, I'm gonna reroute them and probably just go down and then over and then up to my battery. But yeah, I mean, it's almost done. Just in case no one's ever seen the inside of one of these switches, this is just a simple on and off switch. These are 17 millimeter. When you have it like this and you twist this, nothing on the back side, none of this moves, and it has these little sleeves right here that you can pull in and out. So I got the bottom one pulled out, so when you lay it flush, I'll show you for an example. When you lay it flush with something, your wires can come out no problem. And what you do after you get your wires coming out the bottom, you put this black piece back on, then you run your screws in and mount it. Alright, so after you get everything mounted, which I do, they provide you with this fluid. You can either put it in before you mount it in your boat. I'm going to go ahead and put it in now. There is a fill line on the reservoir, so make sure you put this to the fill line, and then go in your instruction booklet right here provided by powerpole, and it'll walk you through on how to manually deploy it and how to bleed out the air. So I mean, other than that, there really ain't nothing to it. I'll show you the final product. Like I said, there's both pumps mounted. I still got to connect the hoses. The hoses are marked exactly to the inserts, as you see on this blue tag right here. It focuses. Insert up hose here. One of these hoses are marked insert up, so just make sure you put the right one on there. There is both my switches and my wiring zip tied, all nice and neat. And then there is both my poles mounted with the hydraulic hoses. I am not cutting these off or using them, because if I ever get a new boat, I will end up putting these on, maybe drilling holes in the new boat. For now, I will basically run probably 2 zip ties right around this, just to hold these hoses so they can kind of slide in and out if they need to move. As you guys can see, I went ahead and hooked up the hoses. So now all I got to do is pretty much bleed the system. So like I said, in the instructions, it's going to tell you how to hook up the hoses. Everything's marked. It's really simple. Like I talked about, if you're going to buy one power pole and you've got to mount brackets, especially on your transom, go ahead and buy both brackets. And then, that way if you can't get both power poles at once, it's already there. I was able to throw this power pole up in no time. Running the wiring was the most intensive part in putting in the new switch, but after you get everything in and the pump mounted and the wires ran and the hydraulic fluid in there, you pretty much got to deploy the pole manually and then bleed it out, and then the fun part is just setting up your remotes to deploy both, which again, everything's in the instructions. It sends you a nice little lanyard to go on your neck, and then it also sends you that right there, which is really handy. And I don't have the foot stomp on my bobber things yet, but I'll get it soon. But if you guys got any questions, just hit me up on here. I just want to kind of give you guys a walkthrough, and the main thing is just educating you on the 2 bracket situation. I wasn't going to get both brackets, and I'm like, I'd be stupid not to get both of them and get it done, because those were like $200 versus the power poles being like $1,500–$1,600 each. I couldn't afford both of them at once, but I could afford the brackets. So anyways, drop a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that like button. Until next time, tight lines.